My name is Ruth Duran. I'm a certified life coach. I help business women create what they want to create without working harder or longer than necessary. I help them work smarter so that they can create the results that they want, so that they can not only enjoy the life that they're living, they can also really create the experience in life that they want to experience. Because so many of us were raised in cultures, were raised in an environment that we were told to create the results that we want, we have to work a lot of hours. If we need to do a ton of things. And so if we want to create a certain result, we need to do a lot of things or work a lot of hours, which limits us to the number of days and the number of actions we as a human can physically take. And so if our solution is more work, more time, more actions, then we start looking at, but I'm trying to also raise a family, I'm trying to also live a life. How do I become a human being who's living in this life and enjoying this life and having to do all these things, which leave a lot of determined, hardworking individuals stuck because they think that more time, more actions is a solution. And if that's the only answer their brain comes up with, they then limit their growth. And so what my job as your coach is to do is to clean that up so that we can choose on purpose what we want to do. So we can decide on purpose using our highest brain so that we can decide what is it we're going to be able to do with our own genius brain to create the money, the success that we want while living the lives that we want to live, while enjoying the lives that we want. Because it's one thing to have money. It's a very different thing to have the money and enjoy the money that you have. And so what I do is I help you identify why and where you're working harder than you need to. And one area that I see a lot of people, way too many people work hard, is in their stories that they tell themselves. And what I help them do is I help them separate the facts from the story. So for example, somebody will come to me and they will tell me that they'll tell me a story. And when I listen to that story, my brain is designed to separate the facts from the thoughts. The story is the thoughts, what you're making it out to mean. So there are facts in the world, and there are stories, emotions, judgments, and opinions. The facts are the most basic ways to explain something in a way that everyone would agree with. This is what we call the circumstance. So it's keeping the circumstance of the world as very neutral and very factual as possible. When we do this one action of separating the facts from the story causes us to start working smarter. And so, for example, my goal is to help you make as much money as you can, but I love money. And we can put money, and everybody in the world will have a different thought, a different story about money. But money is very, very neutral. So for example, if I write down, or if I show you a bank account that has $1 million in it, the fact that the number $1 million in it is neutral, because some people will say it was a lot of money. Some people will say it's not a lot of money. Some people will say it's more than enough. Some people will say it's not enough. Not everyone will agree on that number. But when we say I had $1 million, some people will go, you know what? That is a lot. Think about all the amazing things I can do with it. Other people will think it's too little. I can't do everything I want to do with it. But we can all agree it's $1 million. When we make things as neutral and as factual as possible, we see that our thoughts and our feelings are completely optional. We can choose to think anything we want of it. Others may think or feel something different. And so the power becomes, how do we make this one thing, money, $1 million, neutral? Another thing that happens is our opinions about it really fuel how we think about it. So if person A is thinking, oh, it's more than enough, they will be feeling abundant. Person B is thinking it's not enough, they will be feeling scarcity. How is that possible when it's the same number? And so freedom comes when we then go and make that number very, very neutral. And then it gives us the power to think whatever we want to think about the $1 million. Another example, and I use these two examples intentionally, is because I'm helping you make more money without working any harder or longer than necessary. And two of the areas that I see a lot of drama, a lot of story, a lot of fiction is in time and money. So time is neutral. Yes, 8 hours, 24 hours, 40 hours in a week, 168 hours in a week is neutral. We can say that I don't have enough time, or we can say I have to find time when we get an assignment or a project, but not everyone will agree, or not everyone would have the same thought about the time. We can give somebody 8 hours to do the project. They might think I have more than enough time because of their confidence and their belief in themselves. And we can give another person the same exact project and the same amount of hours of 8 hours, and they might think it's not enough time. What is different? It's not the 8 hours. It's not the project. It's the thoughts and the feelings, the story that each person is telling. The fact is, we have 24 hours a day. The fact is, most people work 8 hours Monday through Friday. The fact is that there's 168 days, hours in the week. That's a fact. Then we can see our thoughts and our feelings may be different. We can see, based on the way that we are thinking and feeling, we will experience the same amount of time differently, the neutrality of time differently. And so I love to always tell my clients, there's a difference between the facts of something and the story of it, because looking at a court of law, or looking at let's go to the court of law. Can you make what you are experiencing very, very factual, that everybody in that court of law would agree with it? And kind of a morbid example I like to share is we might come at and find Johnny dead on the street. Fact is, Johnny's dead. The story of who killed Johnny, unless 100 people watched it happen, and 100 people can say that Tim stabbed Johnny. If 100 people would agree, then that's a fact. If now we poll those 100 people and nobody knows who killed Johnny, nobody knows how Johnny was killed, nobody even knows when Johnny was killed, we then start relying on what facts, for example, the coroner is able to get together. And so we want to be really as factual as possible. And so then we want to separate the facts from the story, the facts from what we make it mean. And when we separate the facts from the story, when we make it as factual as possible, this always gives us peace, freedom, presence, and empowerment, because it gives us the power of what we want to make things mean back. It empowers us to choose how we want to think about it, to choose what we want to make, to choose the thought, the feeling, action cycle that we get to live into for us. And so this separating the facts from the story is such a powerful thing that we can use for us. And so it allows us to create and direct our experience of the world back to it. Allows us to create our experience of the $1 million. It allows us to create the experience of the 8 hours and the one project. It allows us to direct how we're going to show up in the world based on what we or how we want to experience it. So this concept is such a freeing concept. When I was first introduced to this concept released a lot of tension, a lot of stress, a lot of disempowering thoughts for me. And so I love to go back to what this is basic. I love to go back to the basic things because it's so powerful. It allows me to empower myself on what I want to make things mean, and then direct how I want to show up in the world. And as I said, this is one of the tools I help my clients do. It's like I can just even separating the facts from the story. A client will come to me with so much emotional struggle, emotional pain, emotional trauma. And we sit and we separate the facts from the story. And by the time they are done, they feel empowered, they feel in control, they feel that they can dictate how they want to live their life. So it's very elementary in the coaching world, but it's so powerful. So what this does is this is back to the teachings I taught you about math versus drama. The math is the facts everyone can agree on. 2 + 2 = 4. We can all agree on that. We can agree, or you made 10 direct offers because you can show that you had a face-to-face conversation with 10 people. You asked them you asked them for the sale. You asked them, you finished the ask. And we can prove that. But then the drama is the story, the judgment, the opinions that we have about the 2 + 2 = 4 or the 10 offers that you made. And how the more neutral we make those two things, the more empowered we have. So a client might come to me and client might go, I made 10 offers. I had 10 conversations where I asked 10 people for the sale and 10 people said no. Factual. Client 1 will go, that means I'm not good enough. That means I can never have what I want. That means people don't like me. That means they don't want to work with me. That then creates a very different experience. Versus client 2 did the exact same thing and they go, well, I learned what they're looking for. I asked more questions. I learned that I'm not maybe even really closing the sale. I learned that I'm not showing them the power of working with me. I learned so much. Both of them didn't quote unquote win, but one made it, the stories, the opinions, the judgment made it so disempowering for them. Person 2, their stories, their opinions, their judgment, same thing, made it a very powerful learning experience for them. Person 1 is stuck in the water, duck in the water and sink in sand, cannot go anywhere. Person 2 has the freedom to choose so much more. And so we cause ourselves to work harder and longer when we do not take the time to separate the facts from the story. When we make someone's opinion, someone's judgment, someone's story to be true and live by their rule. We cause ourselves to work harder when we have to struggle to be worthy or good enough because of the story that we're telling ourselves. We tell ourselves, person one, that means I'm not good enough. Made the same offers, 10 offers. They all said, no, I'm not good enough. And then they go out and they start struggling to earn their good enough, their worth, because of the story that they came from that. Person two bypassed that struggle. Person two bypassed earning their worth. Person two bypassed the struggle, the making themselves something wrong with them. We cause ourselves to work harder when we think hard work is more honorable than by working hard and taking a ton of actions, because that's a thought. We think like, oh, if I work hard, then that makes me more honorable, more worthy, more valuable, more lovable, more likable. But then person two just goes, I choose to work hard because I want to. It doesn't have anything to do with honor, enoughness, worthy, valuable. It just is a hard work, something I choose to do because I like the results of it. We also cause ourselves to work harder or longer than necessary when we do not separate the facts from the math, when we don't separate the facts and the math from the story, from the opinions, from the judgment, from the drama. I'm going to repeat that. We cause ourselves to work harder and longer than necessary when we do not separate the math and the facts from the story, the opinions, the judgment, the drama. Facts feel so neutral. When I help my clients separate the facts from their stories and their opinions and their judgments, they always just go, why? Because it releases all the stories and it feels so neutral. It feels so empowering. Why? Because it's not the facts that make us feel crappy. It's the opinions, the judgments, the stories. So facts have zero stories and thus zero emotions. Facts are neither negative nor positive. They just are. Like 2 + 2 = 4. It just is. There's no unworthy, scarcity, sadness associated with that. It just is. What makes it have positive, negative emotions is our thoughts about it. So if you have an emotion, that is evidence that you are not looking at the facts. That is evidence that you have a story, you have an opinion, you have a judgment, you have a drama-filled thing there. So the work becomes just really getting as neutral as possible. The other way we cause ourselves to work harder and longer than necessary is the facts. We don't use the facts to get to the real problem. We use the story and we make the story the problem, and we make the story the cause of the problem. So we cause ourselves to work smarter and not harder when we really understand that the problem is the way we're telling ourselves about something. The facts is not the problem. The facts is. And then the problem is what we think about it. The problem is not 2 + 2 = 4. The problem is not that you made an offer to 10 people and they all said no. That's not the problem. The problem is the story that we tell ourselves about it. The problem is the opinion, the judgment, the story, the drama that we tell ourselves about that. And so the root of the problem is that story. Once we clean that up, which remember, once we neutralize things, it releases the problem. So we work smarter by separating the facts from the story, the judgment, the opinion, the drama. And we cause ourselves to work smarter when we slow down, pause, separate the facts from everything else, and then choose on purpose how we want to think about the facts. So I'm going to give an example like I have been doing. There's a client. They have a money goal of making 10K a year. And so this goal, it's true. It's factual. We can see that Susie set a goal to earn 10K a year. We can all see that that's what they did. We know they did it because she said she did it. And we all, 100 of us, heard her say it. It's a fact. Susie can cause herself to work harder when she looks at, or when she makes that goal a story, a judgment, or opinion, or drama. For example, making money means that I have to work more hours and take more actions. That's her story. That's her opinion. That's her judgment, based on maybe what she's watched everybody around her do, based on maybe what she's watched her parents and how they did it, based on what she made the culture mean. And then she feels discouraged because she's already working a lot of hours. She's already taken a ton of actions. And so she's feeling discouraged because she's going, I don't have any more time and actions I can do. And so she's feeling discouraged, and then she avoids, she resists, she buffers, meaning she does other things to avoid feeling discouraged, like eating, like Netflixing, or resisting, which is that pushing it away, or telling herself stories of what's wrong with her. So, or she maybe goes and gets more knowledge, more information, learns more things, takes more actions, maybe just decides she just needs to do more actions and more time, doing more. And what she creates, she guarantees that she creates proof and evidence that more money is created by more hours and more time. But she's feeling discouraged. Back to because of the story. The story, the underlying story is that it takes more money. To make more money, it takes more hours and more actions, more things. Her believing that that's true. When we make it factual, it's a goal, a money goal, 100K goal, factual. Her freedom is in what she chooses to make it mean. Her freedom is she can choose to think anything she wants about that goal, because that goal is neutral. She can choose to think it's possible I can make 100K without working any harder or longer than I'm already doing. It's possible I can earn 100K by working smarter and not harder. It's possible that I can do this in a unique way that I haven't thought of yet. She feels empowered. She then makes the conscious effort to separate facts from stories, facts from drama, just separating and making even things that happen around her neutral, finding the real problem, finding the root cause of what is it that the thought, feeling, action cycle I was in last time that created maybe 50K. What is it that created that 50K? What is it that I need to think, feel, and do to create this 100K in the same time and energy and effort? Solving, that is solving for the real problem. Thought, feeling, action cycle. They use, for example, the 80-20 rule. What is the 20% of the things that I'm doing that are causing the 80% of the result that I'm having? Or what are the 80% of the things that I'm doing that are costing me time, energy, and effort? Maybe they hire me as their life coach to really be that neutral party to separate their thoughts from their feelings, separate the story from the drama, separate and tell them about their judgments and their opinions, separate and explore the emotions that you're having. Or then they look at, maybe it's just the way that I'm thinking about things, and I can think different about it because I want to. Maybe it's the way I'm feeling about things, and I can feel different about it because I want to. So what they create is they ensure that they create their goal by working smarter and not harder. Value, my friends, is in making the facts as neutral as possible. If your life has never been transformed by this one thing, you need to get coached. This is what this call is about. Come on, let me coach you. Let's separate the facts from the judgment, the opinion, the story, and the emotions. Let's see what value that is in for you. So my friends, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much. Thank you for being a member of this group. And please, if you can think of anybody who could benefit from the valuable information that's in this group, invite them to the group. This is also the call where you get coached live. It's one thing to know what this stuff. It's a very different thing to actually live it in your life. So if you want to get coached so I can separate the facts from your story, raise your hand and I'm here to help you. Thank you for everybody else who's watching. If you'd like to learn more or learn how to work with me, send me a private message and let's schedule a consultation, because it's one thing to really know this stuff. It's a very different thing to actually see the application of it in your life. My friends, thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.